G'day everyone, Duckville here bringing you another game from the EU ladder. This is from the replay pack that was submitted to Team Liquid, and also I think you could have found it on Reddit, from Harstem, who's up here at the top right hand side of Tal'Darim Altar. Harstem, of course, part of Team Mouse Control. He's a very good Protoss player, of course, as I mentioned in the previous cast of Harstem. He's been up there in the GM ranks of EU, very highly placed there. So hopefully we will see some very cool stuff out of him here today. He is in the pink, so this is obviously a custom game, and his opponent is down in the bottom left-hand side. It's going to be Underdark, part of Team mTW, also featuring TT1 and Demaga. He is also a very well-qualified Protoss player, so hopefully we will see some awesome stuff from him too. This map, of course, is the home of 4 gates. It's still the home of 4 gates, despite the nerfs that have continued to push 4 gate down the ranks in terms of actual good builds for PvP. The reason for that being, of course, that there's no real ramp that you can use a sentry to use a singular force field to block off any sort of entryway, and of course the simple fact that there is a big ramp into the natural, not to mention the secondary entry as well. So just in general, it's an extremely open and easy to infiltrate kind of map, which is why 4 gate is still quite prevalent. If you play on ladder, things I would suggest would be to do a style where you can deflect a 4 gate. It's very common to see them, and I'll be very interested to see if either of these players do it. As I mentioned, very high level masters and GM players, these two. So they will obviously be very adept at utilizing their 4 gate if they do one at all, and of course making sure they utilize their units as best as possible. While we're waiting for the actual play to come out from each of these players, it looks as if they do have a cybernetics core going up for each of them, so that is going to be quite standard for now. We'll be interested to see who takes their second gas first, if they take it at all, because that is a big sign of a lack of 4 gate, if you will. And it looks like we're going to get a 2 gate based opening here from Underdark. It's not the most common thing you see, and Harstem also going for his second gas, so that'll be a little bit interesting to see what he's going down the path of. As I was going to say, make sure you jump on to my Facebook page. You can jump on there and post how you've done in the placements for Season 7. Of course, we've just started up Season 7 with all new crazy macro maps that hopefully everyone will love. It's a very good looking season coming up, especially considering you can watch the GSL, you can watch maybe part of MLG, part of IPL, and see some of these great awesome maps that have just started up, including Metropolis, Daybreak, and the other ones that are also there as well. Looks like Harstem is going to go for a 3 gate based opening. He's picked up the second and third gates there. We've got the cybernetics core spinning up, trying to get the warp gate tech out as quickly as possible. A probe from Underdark just heading across the map is not going to get inside. There is a stalker here just poking around trying to find out where the probe is. In fact, Ninja Probe gets past the stalker and is going to get a good look at exactly what is going on. Harstem, meanwhile, was not able to actually get too much of a view of what was going on here. Was able to see that there are 2 gates out pretty quickly there, and then was forced out by the stalker that was very quickly pushed out of the gateway by Underdark. So looks as if both of these players are going to go for a very sort of aggressive style. Harstem going to be on the defensive, given that he did get that second gas a little bit quicker, and he will only be on 3 gates, but it could be a little bit different here because Underdark has picked up his own 2 gates and maybe going for a bit of a 4 gate frenzy. We'll see what happens there with that. He's got 3 stalkers out on the map, just controlling the Xel'Naga watchtowers, trying to keep an eye on what is coming through this middle section here. Of course, it is very important to control those in this matchup. You want to try and make sure that you can see what your opponent's up to, where your opponent's probes are, all that sort of thing, which can give you good intelligence as to where you should be positioning your units. So Harstem looks as if he is going to go for a very heavy stalker play here. We still haven't actually seen if he's going to be getting a Twilight Council for Blink or if he's just going to go for a bit of pressure. Meanwhile, for Underdark, he has his own stalker crew out. We've got a total of at least, yeah, there's around about 7 of them out on the map. Looks as if there's going to be a little bit of a meeting in the right-hand side of the map. Harstem catching out one of the stalkers of Underdark. That is not going to be good for him at all. Of course, it's only the one stalker, but in this particular matchup, a little bit like Zerg versus Zerg in StarCraft 1, losing one of those units can be quite critical, so we'll see how Underdark deals with that. He's got a Twilight Council on the way, so it does look as if he is going to go for a blink-based play, utilizing the blinking stalkers to get around the map very quickly, and of course using them to back away from danger if it may present itself. And of course he's also got the Robo there, which will give him the ability to push out a couple of Immortals if need be, along with observers which can help to spot what's coming. So Harstem is looking as if he's perhaps just going to sit back for the moment. He's got an Immortal coming out of that Robo that he has just completed. He may, in fact, I think he might actually, yeah, I was going to say, looks like he's going to go for an expansion down at the natural. That's going to be, it's a little bit of fake pressure there, building up all of these Stalkers, pushing across the map, taking out one of your opponent's Stalkers, and then even getting so close to the base as in coming to the natural ramp there. And as we can see, Underdark has been just sort of forced back a little bit here. He's got a couple of, he's got a sentry out. We can see that he is chronoing out Blink as fast as possible. He will need to try and use that very quickly if he wants to get a very useful sort of defense out with only Stalkers. So he's looks as if he is going to fall behind though, because Harstem has got this natural expansion up. It's just about halfway done, but now as we can see, it looks like Underdark is going to head across the map. He may have sensed some slight weakness in the defenses of Harstem. We can see he has no idea that the natural expansion is there, and still has no idea of exactly what's going on in the base of Harstem. But as we can see, this push is going to come across, and it's going to be quite hefty. The supply count is currently sitting at 66 to 63. Harstem just in the lead here. He does have one Immortal in the mix, which is going to provide him with a lot of firepower against these Stalkers. And we'll have to see how Underdark engages, because this could get a little messy for Harstem if he's not very careful with his positioning. Want to try and get that Immortal at the front, get some of the Zealots in the front as well, and then try and just tank some of the damage while the Immortal goes to town. And it looks as if Harstem is actually just sort of losing a bit of ground here. The Immortal stuck at the back, but he is targeting down some of those Stalkers, and now in fact targeting down a Zealot. But here we go, a second Immortal comes into the battle, which is very good for Harstem here. That should provide him with enough utility to actually blast away at those Stalkers before they can get too much damage done. And as we can see, Harstem now with an expansion up, and Underdark still quite far behind in that regard, has not even started his, does not even, is he actually going to start it? There it is. So he has actually got the Nexus up. He's going to need to put a lot of pressure on if he wants to try and make Harstem earn this expansion, and to do that he's going to take down a pylon. May want to try and get the sentry and a couple of the Zealots if possible. That'll be quite nice for him, just to sort of whittle down some of the defensive units from Harstem there. So this game is just sort of revolving around just trying to do a little bit of pressure at the start, and now the pressure switch has flicked over to Underdark. He needs to get a little bit more done just so he can sort of catch up in his economy. As we can see on the probe tab, we've got Harstem way in the lead here, currently sitting at 34 probes, but perhaps about to lose a few of them. We've got the Stalkers of Underdark just blinking down to the side here, catching out a couple of the probes, a force field, also trying to get a couple of the Stalkers. They actually got stuck inside the minerals there. That was very impressive from Harstem, but now he's going to have to deal with the Stalkers blinking away. They should all be able to get out except for one. It looks as if Underdark does get back and takes a couple of probe kills there, as we can see. Just picked up 2 of them. It's not, sorry, he picked up 4, so it's not the greatest bounty that he picked up in that attack, but it's certainly something worth writing home about. Of course, you want to try and just get as much damage as you can to your opponent's economy. And as you can see, Underdark is just going to try and power up his tech a little bit. We've got a second robotics bay, second robotics facility, I should say. The bay is on the way as well, and Harstem already has a Colossus out. He got picked up. He got the robotics bay very quickly there. He's actually got extended thermal lance already on the way. With his second base already intact, this means that he's going to be able to get out quite a lot of these Colossi very early, and he is going to stay in a Colossus lead, which is a big thing in PvP. You want to try and either keep equal with your opponent or be ahead. Of course, it's really dependent on what sort of tech route you're going through. But of course, the PvP metagame sort of turns into, it either goes the way of Phoenix and sort of air battles, or it can go the way of Colossi, as it has always previously done. From generations past, we've always seen quite a lot of Colossi in PvP battles, so It'll be interesting to see how Underdark deals with this. He is going to be a little bit behind, as we said, but he does have the second robo, but he just doesn't have the economy to support this second robo just yet. So we'll have to see what he's going to do about that. Needs to get some pressure done. It looks as if he is going to perhaps just have a little poke inside the natural here with this observer. Just have a quick check of how many probes are there, and then head across and see if he is going to be able to blink up the top. But that is not going to happen at all. The observer is picked off, and Harstem is going to be in a very nice controlling position here now with 2 Colossi out. He's got another one on the way, but as we can see, the second robo just about to kick in here for Underdark. He's got 2 Colossi on the way, extended Lance is being chronoed out. Everything is being chronoed out, in fact, sticking on the 4 gates for the moment. So he is going to catch up very quickly, but a second robo from Harstem is also going to come into effect as well. So this game looks as if it's past that stage. Every single Protoss player watching this will know there is a certain part of PvP where at the start it'll be extremely tense. You'll be sitting around wondering if someone's going to 4-gate you, if someone is going to do some sort of blink attack or DTs, something like that. And then you get to this stage right about now where there is a certain calm where you sit back, you say, alright, I've got a second base, I've got a couple of immortals, some Colossi, a lot of Stalkers. We're sort of good here. And it sort of sits at that spot for a little while until you reach that max and you get out around about sort of 180 to 200 supply, and you've got a bunch of Colossi, and then things start to get hairy again and the APM spikes. In fact, having a quick look at the APM of these guys, we've got Harstem currently sitting at around about 95 average, and Underdark sitting on around about 70, so he's a little bit lower, but that's not too much of an issue here. Of course, it's really dependent in StarCraft 2 on your accuracy. Just speaking of which, looking at the sort of the command APM, that new cool thing which was put in, which is a little bit more of the real APM, Harstem sitting up at 175 to the 125 of Underdark. So these guys just sort of trading blows at the moment in terms of the APM, but apart from that, there is no more trading going on. We've got a little bit of a force just pushing through here for Harstem. Underdark has no idea what is going on just as of yet. He did lose control of the Xel'Naga watchtower that has now been activated by the Stalker, and it looks as if Harstem is just going to poke around the middle. Still hasn't actually seen this pylon. I would suggest to anyone, always put a pylon there. It's a very cool spot. It's out of the way of effectively every single one of these Xel'Naga watchtowers in the middle, and it's also generally out of the way for some part of the game until someone is idly walking through. So these guys still just powering away at their tech. We've got a Twilight Council finally coming along here from Harstem, a second forge as well, going to allow him to get double upgrades in a very quick time. Looks as if Harstem has got a little bit of a problem here with his probes at the third base, but the Zealot is picked off, and that will be enough of that harassment for the time being. Harstem able to keep that probe alive, which was quite impressive there as well, and he is now picked up. He's getting his +1 to armor that is on the way at the moment, and +2 to weapons also coming through, but a Warp Prism is out. I'm very interested to see what he's going to try and do with that, because he's got Warp Prism speed on the way, which is going to allow him to perhaps put some pressure on the expansions of Underdark. We'll be very interested to find out exactly how he's going to do it. This expansion is a little bit open, and of course the main base here has a lot of tech, which is quite in the open. The Templar Archives is a little bit exposed. The 2 forges are also, while being chronoed up, are still a little bit in the open there, and of course there is a Robo and the Robo Bay at the back of the main, which is also open to attack. So perhaps Harstem is going to head across and do a little bit of damage with that. He does have the Warp Prism waypointed up. He's going to head all the way across, and it looks like, yep, he's going to go down to the natural expansion. So perhaps a little bit of a distraction here, but he's the main army is a little bit out of position. Just looking at the actual army count for these guys, we've got Harstem sitting at a total of 7 Colossi, 3 Immortals, 12 Zealots, 6 Stalkers, and a couple of Sentries as well. Meanwhile, for Underdark, he has got his army sitting at a very healthy 8 Colossi, 13 Stalkers, and an Archon. So it looks as if he is moving into that late game mixture where you add these little cotton balls in, and things start to get very messy. But speaking of messy, probes are being assaulted inside the natural expansion. The Warp Prism doesn't go down. No, it doesn't. Survives for now, but the Zealot's only getting a couple of kills there. Not really worth it, but it does put a little bit of pressure on. Says to Underdark, hey buddy, I'm still in the game. We're still fighting here, just because I haven't actually said hello just yet. is no sign of disrespect. A fleet beacon on the way for Harstem. This is the other, so I suppose you could say, the third act of PvP, where after you have moved through the first phase of being very tense with 4 gates and DTs and crazy stuff, you move into this phase where you get to motherships and the mass colossi. So I think that's what Harstem is going to get as soon as this fleet beacon is operational. The upgrade's still coming along from both of these players. We've got +2 to armor on the way from Harstem, +3 to weapons is also coming through as well. He's going to have them in good time, and these colossi are going to be very deadly with those upgrades. Meanwhile, for Underdark, only sitting on 1 armor and 1 ground weapons as well, so he's going to be a little bit behind here. He's going to really need to utilize some of the chrono if he does have, he does have a little bit left over. In fact, his Nexus at the natural still has heaps left over. So he is going to need to power out those upgrades if he wants to keep up with Harstem. And of course, Harstem, I've seen in some of his replays, has just been absolutely magnificent with his actual weaponry upgrades. They're very, very nicely timed and always going ahead with them as quickly as possible. They're almost always chrono boosted as well. There you go. In fact, keeping me honest there, putting down the chrono on the +2 armor, which is now completed. The +3 weapons also coming through, and a mothership from both players is actually on the way. We've got the Stargate here, the fleet beacon prepared, and the mothership is on the way. Both of these guys are actually going to have a mothership out around about the same time. Underdark is going to be slightly behind, but it looks as if his gateway count, I think, is a little bit higher than where Harstem's is. Harstem's sitting on 5. Oh, there you go. There's some extras. It's all good. He's all cool. We've got a few more coming along there from him. Looks as if Underdark is going to try and get some pressure going as well. He does have the 4th base down here at the 6 o'clock. Meanwhile, Harstem has taken his own just off to the side as well. A little bit better protected here with a couple of cannons just behind the tall grass, but the Stalkers have come along and they are going to try and intercept. But a couple of Zealots just bursting through, coming out of the woodwork, and are going to tear through some of these Stalkers as well. And it looks as if they will do a good job actually picking off some of those Stalkers and forcing them back, letting Underdark know he is not going to get into this base for free. 193 supply for Underdark, 186 for Harstem, and it looks as if Harstem is going to have a little bit to deal with here. The Stalkers are going to blink away. The Colossi have been separated. I do like how Harstem has separated his Colossi to keep the count perhaps a little bit hidden, and also to make sure that he is available to defend at multiple points here. And a couple of these Stalkers being swept around by the Colossi as they try to escape, and they do get out with a very nice blink there from Underdark, and it looks as if both of these players are preparing for a fight. We're currently sitting at pretty much max for both of them. The mothership from Harstem is out with the rest of the army. We've got a couple, is it a couple or is it just one Void Ray? No, it's just one Void Ray for now, just a random Void Ray just thrown in the mix. Of course, it does do the extra damage against armored, so it would be quite nice against effectively every single thing in the Protoss arsenal. And for Underdark, he has his own mothership here, gathering up energy. Both of these guys want to make sure that they have enough energy for a Vortex. If you can catch your opponent's mothership before they get to Vortex, that is obviously a big, big win for you. But if you can, of course, catch out some of the Colossi and keep some of them away from the battle, that is actually a nice little thing as well. One big, big thing about a PvP, and when it gets to this mothership stage, is if you are able to put a Vortex down and capture everything that your opponent has, do not just either jump in idly into the Vortex and just say, hey buddy, we're going for a ride. You need to array your Colossi out. We'll see if these guys do it when we get to that stage of the game, if we do indeed. You need to sort of line up your Colossi, put them in a big circle around the base, around the Vortex, and so you don't get splash damage when he comes out of the Vortex. That's what you want to try and do. But Harstem has found a 5th base across the left-hand side of the map here. Looks like he's going to be able to get some kills there, along with the Colossi saying hello to the natural expansion, picking off some of those probes there. That is not good at all for Underdark. He's going to lose some of that mining as well. He's going to need to perhaps head across to this side of the map and take a base over there, but this is the very scary stage for both players, where taking a 5th is actually a little bit of a worrying procedure, because of course with all of these Colossi out, with Cloak, with Recall as well, don't ever underestimate Recall. You can head across the map, take out one of your opponent's bases, and then recall back. And this Colossi was left for dead. I'm not sure if that was just a cute little trick there from Harstem, or if he actually forgot about it, but I'm assuming it was a little trick. just to leave that guy there and sacrifice him. I mean, he did get a fair amount of kills. Look at the worker kills. We got 22 worker kills in total here for Harstem, so he's certainly doing a good job with that. As we can see, the Colossus count for both of these players sitting very, very nicely. We've got Underdark sitting at a total of 12, along with 3 Archons. A couple of Templar here. Where are they? I saw them down here. Speaking of which, a DT coming inside the third base of Underdark here. Not really going to get too much done. There is a cannon which is able to take down that DT quick smart. Another couple of DTs heading into the fourth. I think they may be able to take out that cannon, given that they do have upgrades, and they will be able to get rid of that and perhaps put some damage on this base. Taking down the cannon quick smart. There it goes. Probes are now free to die, but it looks as if we may have a battle up at the right-hand side of the map. Here we go. These guys, Harstem, not really spreading out his units just as of yet, but there you go, spreading out the Colossi, and the Mothership catches the Mothership of Underdark. That is now under the Vortex, and he is going to have to be very careful with how he moves from here. We'll see if Harstem is able to take control of the map, but no, he does not. Underdark moving back away very nicely, just making sure he is out of the battle and he doesn't get just absolutely destroyed by the Colossus mix here. And now it's Underdark's turn. He does have enough energy. He's got full energy on that Mothership, puts down 2 Vortexes, and is then able to take down a lot of the units of Harstem here. He's actually removed 3, maybe 4 Colossi of Harstem, and Harstem is now sitting in a very ugly position here because he's lost a couple of those, but now bouncing back out. A carrier was even in that big group here from Harstem. He's decided it's fun time. Has got 1 carrier out. There is another one on the way. 2 more Colossi being built for Harstem here, and it looks as if this battle will rage across the map. Zealots have been brought out here for Harstem, have caught up with the rest of the Colossi, and the Mothership goes down, and that is effectively it after that one very long but intense battle. Harstem has actually taken advantage despite being getting hit with a double Vortex there. He is now in a commanding lead with Colossi marching down the map, taking out pylons left, right, and center. The Mothership still alive, and in fact is going to be able to... No, she doesn't. She goes down straight away, and the carrier is still in the mix here. Stalker's being blasted away, and that will be it for Underdark. He has set his GG, and that will be the game. So great stuff there from Harstem and Underdark, having a really, really fun PvP, getting up to, as we said, going through Act 1 with the very tense sort of back and forth at Harstem's natural, and then moving into the Dark Ages, where you have no real attacking going on, that sort of thing, because it's just too hard to do, and then getting to the Colossus and Mothership Wars. So that was a really nice game from those guys. Make sure you check out Harstem's replay pack. It's up on Team Liquid, and of course you can catch him on Twitter. Unfortunately was not able to find too much about Underdark, but I'll do what I can for next time. If you like that replay, make sure you let me know. If you want to see some more PvP, jump on Facebook or Twitter and say hello, and I'll catch you guys next time. Cheers.